The numbers don't lie. 840,000 American jobs, union, non-union, full-time, part-time on the line, and the dominoes are already falling. Michigan, Ohio, Kentucky states, built on the backbone of the American car, staring down a new crisis, but it's not coming from inside. It's not another recession, not another housing bubble, not even Silicon Valley this time. It's Tokyo. Or more accurately, it's the quiet, strategic, and devastating resurgence of Japanese automakers that now threatens to gut the last stronghold of American industry. This isn't about gas prices. This isn't about inflation. This is about a calculated foreign play to dominate one of America's most sacred industries at toes, right under our noses. With the cooperation of our own laws, our own markets, and yes, our own consumers. For decades, Toyota and Honda were treated as peripheral players. Reliable? Sure. Efficient? Absolutely. But never dominant, never threatening to Detroit. That was Ford country. That was GM's empire. Chrysler's turf. American made, American driven. But then things changed. It didn't happen overnight. It started with one car: affordable, fuel efficient, dependable. The 1970s oil crisis cracked open the American consumer's loyalty to Detroit steel. Toyota's Corolla and Honda Civic crept in like shadows, dismissed at first. But while Ford and GM doubled down on gas guzzlers, Toyota doubled down on engineering. Honda refined quality. Japan was patient. America wasn't. And while Detroit was busy fighting internal union wars and chasing short-term quarterly profits, Japan was playing a 50-year game. Fast forward to 2025, the scoreboard is no longer close. In Q2 alone, Toyota's US market share jumped to nearly 18%. Honda followed close behind at over 11%. Compare that to Ford at just under 13%, and GM struggling to stay above 14%. But those are just numbers. The reality behind them is worse. Toyota has now become the best-selling car company in America for the second year in a row. Honda's new electric models are undercutting Chevy's pricing by $5,000 per vehicle, while boasting better range and reliability. And in showrooms across the country, Americans are walking past Mustangs and Silverados to sign leases on Japanese EVs. It's not just preference, it's survival. Middle-class Americans can't afford a $48,000 American EV with recalls and software bugs. They're choosing practicality. They're choosing value. They're choosing Japan. And in doing so, they're unknowingly accelerating the collapse of a domestic industry already on the brink. In the past 18 months, 5 major American auto plants have announced layoffs or shutdowns. 2 in Michigan, 1 in Indiana, 1 in Missouri, and a major facility in Illinois. The reason? Declining sales. Market erosion. EV transition costs. But the hidden truth is this: American cars aren't selling like they used to because Japanese automakers are outmaneuvering them at every turn. It's not just the vehicles, it's the strategy. Toyota and Honda have mastered supply chains. Their battery sourcing is more efficient, less vulnerable to Chinese bottlenecks. Their EV rollouts are leaner, faster, and more tailored to what working Americans actually want: affordable, durable vehicles with long range and low maintenance. Meanwhile, American automakers are drowning in bureaucracy, fighting UAW demands, struggling with outdated assembly lines and betting billions on moonshot technologies like autonomous driving, while their core customer base just wants a reliable car under $35,000. And here's where the real pain begins. Every lost sale at Ford or GM doesn't just affect one factory. It ripples through an entire ecosystem: auto parts suppliers, transport companies, regional banks, dealership employees, even local school districts funded by auto taxes. The number 840,000 isn't just some abstract data point. That's the total estimated number of American jobs connected to domestic auto manufacturing that are now at risk, according to a joint 2024 study by the Economic Policy Institute and UAW Internal Forecasting. Not lost yet, but on the edge. And with Toyota's latest announcement, the edge just became a cliff. In March 2025, Toyota announced it would invest $17 billion into expanding its US-based EV and hybrid manufacturing, not in partnership with American car makers, but in competition with them. The jobs being created? Non-union? The vehicles? Built in America? Designed in Japan? The profits? It's largely exported. Honda followed suit in June, announcing a joint venture with Sony for AI-integrated EVs targeting American urban consumers. The pricing starts at $29,900, nearly $6,000 cheaper than Tesla's base model, and nearly $9,000 under GM's Bolt replacement. Initial pre-orders? Over 400,000 factory locations? Georgia and North Carolina are IDA-work states with minimal union protection? That's not job creation, it's industrial colonization. What's worse is Washington's paralysis. In 2018, tariffs on imported vehicles and steel under the Trump administration slowed Japanese imports for a while, but the loopholes remained. Japanese automakers simply moved manufacturing, here avoiding the tariffs, but not the consequences. And under the Biden administration, the new EV subsidies under the Inflation Reduction Act were supposed to support American jobs. Instead, they've been exploited. Toyota and Honda vehicles now qualify for partial federal tax credits by sourcing battery components from Canada or assembling in US-based subsidiary, allowing them to compete head-on with Ford and GM for the same customer, but without the same legacy costs. This isn't just a case of globalization. It's a case of asymmetric warfare in the economic arena. While America argues over culture wars, Japan is winning the real war: one plant, one model, one buyer at a time, and still, many Americans don't realize it. They see the job losses, they hear the layoffs, but they don't connect the dots because Japanese automakers have done something brilliant. They've wrapped their invasion in the American flag, commercials filled with American landscapes, plants built in southern states, trucks designed to mimic American styles, dealerships that look indistinguishable from Ford or Chevy. It's a silent replacement camouflaged. It's precise and deadly. By the time most people understand what happened, it may be too late. In Dearborn, Ford executives are scrambling. Last quarter's losses on their EV division topped $1.3 billion. Layoffs were announced for 8,000 white-collar workers. In Detroit, GM canceled a major EV expansion project just 6 months after launching it. They cited market uncertainty. The truth: they're being squeezed out. And as for Chrysler, now part of the European conglomerate Stellantis, they've quietly reduced U.S. operations by 18% over the past 2 years. Fewer American workers, fewer American vehicles, less American control. Shift isn't subtle anymore. It's a transfer of industrial sovereignty. Even Tesla, the so-called American success story, is feeling the heat. Elon Musk may grab headlines, but Toyota's EVs are now matching Tesla on range and beating them on price without the controversy. And in a country growing tired of billionaire dramas, that matters. So where do we go from here? Politicians will talk. Trump has already floated a new 100% tariff on foreign vehicles if re-elected. Biden's administration has promised tougher enforcement on subsidy abuse. But words aren't factories. Promises don't build cars. The real solution requires something far more difficult: rebuilding American competitiveness. Not just throwing money at GM or Ford, but transforming the regulatory landscape to favor innovation. Supporting union labor without suffocating flexibility. Investing in STEM education and industrial R&D. Reclaiming control over battery production, rare earths, and semiconductor supply chains. If America doesn't do it, someone else will, because Japan isn't the only one coming. South Korea's Hyundai is building EV megaplants in Alabama and Georgia. China's BYD is watching U.S. policy carefully, ready to strike with low-cost EVs the moment trade restrictions loosen. Germany's Volkswagen is expanding in Tennessee. This isn't just about Toyota and Honda. It's about the final battle. For who owns the future of mobility? The 20th century belonged to Detroit. The 21st might not. And for the 840,000 Americans whose paychecks depend on that legacy, the next 12 to 18 months will determine whether they remain workers or become statistics. It's easy to blame foreign companies. It's harder to admit domestic complacency. But that's where we are. The crash isn't coming. It's here. Quiet, steady, devastating. 840,000 jobs. A warning shot. Wake-up call. Maybe the last one we'll get. And if America can't respond in time, if we can't match the efficiency, the strategy, and the discipline of our global rivals, then the factories won't just slow down. They'll disappear. Just like the jobs. Just like the power. It's like the dream.